Hello and welcome to my channel. These are my boys. They're a pair of Zebra Finches and I've had them about a year now. And I've decided it's time to immortalise them. And I don't mean having them stuffed and mounted, not yet. Back in the 70s, Airfix did a range of model kits based on birds. I've managed to track down one of these kits on the second-hand market. This kit features the Bullfinches, who are cousins of the Zebra Finch. So they're very similar, but not exactly alike. So hopefully with my skill with the paintbrush I can convert this kit to match my boys. And this is the kit in question. I should be able to get away with just changing the colour scheme, but I may have to make a couple of modifications once I've checked out the model itself. So this kit was first released in 1976, so it's almost as old as I am. So let's blow off the dust and open it up. Oh, that's a good sign, everything appears to be there. I really don't want to hand carve any missing pieces. So here's the original ticket so you can subscribe. Since Airfix are still going, it'll be interesting to see what their response will be. As with the other kits in this series, we get a worldwide map and some information about the Finches. And on the flip side, we've got the assembly instructions. And thankfully, it doesn't look too complicated. So, here are all the plastic parts laid out. The instructions want us to start by assembling the branches. So I went ahead and snipped those parts off the sprue, and these parts have a bit of flashing on them. Some I can remove with my hand, and others I need some clippers. And then I tied it up by using a small file. You could also trim this with a hobby knife, but the sharper the better, as a blunt knife means you're putting more force into it and you're more likely to slip. My glue of choice is Tamiya plastic cement. Once it's set, it will remain rock solid. Right, I built up the two sets of branches. Now to assemble the flowers. There are 6 altogether and the central piece to push in. It's just a matter of gluing them onto the tips of the stalk. You have to be careful because they can be easily knocked and drop off at this stage. Once these are in place, I put them to one side to fully cure, because the last thing I want is for them to drop off when I'm trying to paint them. Right, for stage number 2, we're moving on to the birds. They pretty much consist of a top half and a bottom half, followed by the wings separately. They don't line up perfectly, so I will need to fill in the gap with some putty. I had the same issue with the blue tits that I made a couple of years ago. I will leave a link to that video somewhere. The second bird was constructed very differently for some reason. I had to use some clips to force the part to join in the correct places, as well as plenty of putty to fill in the gaps. And this one's got a fine nozzle to make it even easier. As per usual, a wet finger will smooth out any excess. Next, I glue into place all the eyes. These are half dome shaped, which makes them really easy for painting. And the last thing to do for this stage is to put on the legs. Unfortunately, you won't know they're in the right place until the glue's set. Stage 3 is nice and short. It all involves 3 pieces. And that's basically assembling the wood and the stone for the base. And then the final step is essentially putting all the pieces together. The branches go on the log easy enough, and they have the set places. I try to put it together in such a way that it leaves as much space as possible on top, and this should hopefully give me more options to place the birds. There's a bunch of leaves in this kit with no set places to go, yet if I glue them on as they are, they're just going to get knocked off. So I'm going to drill in a few holes and create a bit of extra strength. So this, combined with a little bit of glue, will ensure the leaves are going nowhere. Once again, I try to keep them to the sides and the edges of the log. And then the final step for the birds is to put on their rear toe. I'm keeping this fairly wide so it can hopefully stand flat, although you can glue it on in such a way where to grip a branch better. So I'm going to have 2 display options. I'm going to use the setup that comes with this kit, and I'm going to create a flat base as well, because this represents my boys better as they forage around the living room, because unfortunately they're not wild birds. Right, I think it's time to prime, and my standard go-to colour is grey. And after that I went ahead and gave it a white base coat. I also do the same for the base, although for this video I will be concentrating my efforts on the birds. After all, we all know what colours daisies are and leaves. For their underbellies I used a white grey. This way I can still use a pure white for highlight. And I found that bronze flesh is a pretty good match for their feet. Their beaks are reddish orange, so I'll get that done next. For the second coat, I mixed in a little bit more red to get the colour right. There's a lot of detail to apply to these guys, so I'm going to do them in little batches. For example, there's a thin black ring around their beaks, and there's a black line that goes straight down underneath their eyes. Both of these birds are pretty much identical markings, but just slightly different colour scheme. This one has a black cheek, which is the name of its variety, and the other one has a bit of a ginger cheek, so it's known as a red cheek. So I'm just going ahead and applying the basics. I will keep coming back and tweaking things as I go along. There's a black and white diamond shape underneath the tail, and on top of the tail you've got your zebra stripes. Once again, they have different colours going down the side of their body. The black cheeks is black with just a hint of brown, and the red cheeks is a rusty brown colour. Both of these areas have dotted white patches all over them. They are slightly oval shaped and try to make them look as random as possible. Then the last colour to apply is grey, and this covers the majority of the birds. On actual zebra finches, their wings tuck in and overlap at the back. This would be tricky to adapt the model to do this, so hopefully no one will notice. Next, I dry brush light grey over the dark, and this brings out the raised detail on the feathers. Lastly, I paint on the eyeballs, so these little fellas can see where they're going. To enhance the eyes further, I also give them a coat of clear gloss. This will help them to sparkle and make them look alive. I also add some gloss to the tips of their nails. Prior to all this, I did coat everything with matte sealer. The second base needs a little bit of a base coat. I'm using burnt sienna as a kind of earthy colour, and once that's dried, I go around the edges with some black. Next, I add on some PVA glue ready for the grass. This is spread thin, either with an old brush or cotton bud. And the grass I'm using comes in sheet form. This is torn up and placed randomly about, because the last thing we want is for it to look too uniform and perfect. And then I glue down some appropriately sized stone into some of the gaps, and this adds some different points of interest. And in the remaining patches I sprinkle on some sand. These areas already have a bit of glue on them, so the sand will settle and the glue will dry clear. And there we have it. My zebra finches have been immortalised in plastic. Just as a reminder, this kit is actually a bullfinch kit, and although they are similar to zebra finches, they're not identical to them. But for me, this is about as close as I'll ever get without 3D printing or sculpting from scratch, and I'm perfectly happy with that. I also painted up the display stand, so if you stick around, you get to see how these models were intended to be displayed. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.